What's up, guys, and welcome back to my reading journey. Hope you're all absolutely fantastic, and today, as usual, we're going to continue with Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. It's going to be the second chapter of the fourth book, so let's get started. Magnificence. Next in order, it seems appropriate to discuss magnificence as well as generosity, for it seems to be, like generosity, a virtue concerned with wealth, but it does not extend as generosity does to all the actions to do with wealth, but only to those to do with heavy expenses. In these, it exceeds generosity in its large scale, for just as the name megaloprapia itself suggests, magnificence is expenditure that is fitting proposer in its large scale Magnificence. The large scale is larger relative to something, for the expenses of the captain of the warship and of the leader of a delegation are not the same. Hence, what is fitting is also relative to oneself, the circumstances, and the purpose. Now, someone is called magnificent only if he spends the worthy amount on a large purpose, not on a trivial or an ordinary purpose like the one who gave to many a wanderer. For the magnificent person is generous, but generosity does not imply magnificence. The deficiency falling short of this state is called stinginess. The excess is called vulgarity, poor taste, and such things. These are excesses not because they spend an excessively large amount on that right things, but because they show off in the wrong circumstances and in the wrong way. We shall discuss these vices later. The magnificent person, in contrast to these, is like a scientific expert, since he is able to observe what will be a fitting amount and to spend large amounts in an appropriate way. For as we said at the start, a state is defined by its activities and its objects. Now, the magnificent person's expenditure is large and fitting. So also then must the results be, since that is what makes the expense large and fitting to the result. Hence the result must be worthy of the expense, and the expense worthy of, or even in excess of, the result. In this sort of spending, the magnificent person will aim at the fine, for that is a common feature of the virtues. Moreover, he will spend gladly and readily, since it is stingy to count every penny. He will think more about the finest and most fitting way to spend than about the cost or about the cheapest way to do it. Hence, the magnificent person must also be generous, for the generous person will also spend what is right in the right way, but it is in this spending that the large scale of the magnificent person, his greatness, is found, since his magnificence is a sort of large scale of generosity in these things. And from an expanse that is equal to non-magnificent persons, he will make the result more magnificent. For possession and result have different sorts of excellence. The most honored and hence most excellent possession is the one that is worth most. For example, gold, but the most honored result is the one that is great and fine, since that is what is admirable to behold. Now, what is magnificent is admirable, and the excellence of the result consists in its large scale. Alright, guys, so we've done with the first part of this long chapter, not really long. Anyway, we're gonna continue tomorrow to the next one. Thank you for joining me in this reading session. I hope you enjoy the journey. See you tomorrow. Bye.